My name is Yolanda Ortal-Miranda. I am a Cuban-born writer and professor emeritus of the College of St. Rose in Albany, New York, where I taught for 28 years. I am the author of two books about Cuba that tell the tragic story of what has happened to my beloved country in the past 60 years. My first book is entitled The Sleepwalkers Ballad, Memories of the Revolution. It dramatizes the last years of the Batista dictatorship and the first years of the Castro regime, weaving together fact and fiction. The book brings to life actual historical events and figures such as Fidel and Raúl Castro, Che Guevara, and important members of the underground. I feel that the Sleepwalkers Ballad has special validity because I was in Cuba when the revolution took place. I lived through it. When Castro entered Havana in January 1959, I thought that he could be the solution to the corruption, crimes, and abuses of the Batista dictatorship. What actually happened was a terrifying nightmare. With Castro in power, the country started down the road to communism. The country started down the road to communism. His grand promises of respect for human rights, freedom of expression, and justice for all were broken almost immediately, and the reforms he put forth implemented in such a way that the entire country was thrown into chaos, and anyone who publicly opposed the new regime was incarcerated or executed. Disillusioned and shocked by what was happening, I joined the largest underground movement fighting against the Castro regime. It was known as the MRR, and its goal was to revive and restore the ideals of the revolution that Castro had betrayed. I had the privilege of working with Manolín Guillot, the chief of intelligence of the movement MRR, who was captured and executed by the Castro forces in 1962. My experiences in the MRR are dramatized in the Sleepwalkers Ballad through its main character, Maria, who, like me, eventually escapes the island. My other book is a two-part novel entitled When the Dolphins Cry. It is about the thousands of Cubans who have escaped the Castro regime by sea over the past 50 years. Part 1 is based on the real-life escape of four brothers who in the 70s swam across Guantanamo Bay to seek asylum at the U.S. Naval Base. Part 2 takes place in the mid-90s, after the collapse of the USSR. The subsidies and trade deals with the Soviets had propped up the Cuban economy for over 30 years. When these supports disappeared, the effect on the Cuban economy was devastating. The resulting scarcity of resources, poverty, malnutrition, lack of freedom, and loss of hope drove countless Cubans to cross the dangerous Florida Straits in anything that could float. The books I have written are my way of telling the real story of the Cuban people, the Cuban culture, and the Cuban Revolution. I am an eyewitness to history, and my books will be my legacy.